Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with a kind of surprise. I was not expecting this today, and I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. So, a while back, I don't think I actually talked about it on a video, I may have talked about it on a live stream at one point, that there was a partnership announced between Retro Bit and SEGA. And Retro Bit is a company that does accessories. They do have a couple of like mini consoles, but they do stuff, controllers, cords, accessories. Everyone freaked out thinking, oh, they're gonna do the mini consoles. We're gonna have a Genesis Mini. We already have Genesis Minis. They suck. So if they could do a better one, that would be good. But everyone's like, they've specifically said they're doing everything from every Sega console. So Genesis, Saturn, Dreamcast. They are aiming for all three. And everyone's like, oh, well, we'll get a Saturn Mini, we'll get a Dreamcast Mini. Like, I don't think so. I don't know. But that's something, that's another topic that we can deal with. The things that we knew were going to happen were accessories, because that's what they do. And Consumer Electronic Expo is happening right now, and my feed has just blown up with people showing Retro Bit at CES. And they have just some awesome stuff. Right now, they have accessories, but they have accessories for Genesis, Saturn, and Dreamcast. And it's amazing. Each one has a set of controllers. So you've got a controller for the Genesis, controller for the Saturn, controller for the Dreamcast, all Bluetooth wireless controllers. Now, that blows my mind. Now, somewhere in here, I'm going to try to put I've had a video saved in my favorites for years of making your own wireless controllers using wired controllers, opening it up, adding, you know, Bluetooth receiver, taking the connector dongle at the end for the console, you know, making the receiver for that, and, you know, popping them in with, you know, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. I've had this video instruct for years in my favorites. It's something that I've wanted to do. It's something that I've not been allowed to do because this level of mod is way beyond my skill set, and I become kind of short-tempered when dealing with technology when I think it should work right and it doesn't. So my wife has forbidden me and is like, no, you can't do this one. No, that's where we're drawing the line. So like, I've just been sitting here longing for this, and now there are wireless controllers. I would kill to have a wireless Saturn controller. Saturn controller, to me, it is one of my favorite controllers. It's the only problem with what they showed off at CES is it's not the 3D pad. It's just the regular 6-button controller, which is still fantastic. It's still a wonderful controller. I'm really blown away by a Bluetooth wireless Dreamcast controller that seems like it still also has functionality for VMU, Rumble support, all of the other things that you could plug in to a Dreamcast controller, but now wirelessly. Impressive. The Genesis wireless controller, not really that as impressive, because I know that had happened before, but they used infrared and it was terrible. I really don't know how old some of you are, but I've played with some of those infrared wireless controllers growing up, and the fact that you have to aim it like exactly at the receiver, there can be no deviation, otherwise there is no connection. It is a step up. This is something that really does impress me, because I really was not, I had no hopes for this. Retro Bit is a company that, depending on who you ask, they either make good stuff or they make terrible stuff. There's not really an in-between. They don't really have a lot of middle ground scores. It's either this is something really good or the build quality was awful. There's not a middle ground. Every review I've seen for them is either like 1 or 2 stars or 4 or 5 stars. Like, there's no 3 stars, and it doesn't seem like it averages out, but there's not anything that's like, it's alright. It's either really good or really bad. There's not a gray area there. So I was like, I'm hesitant to get my hopes up on this. And these controllers, just off the bat, look awesome. And they have at least the Saturn ones. The Saturn ones confused me. I had to do a lot of digging to find information on the Saturn ones, because all the pictures I saw of the Saturn ones looked like they were wired controllers. But they do have there is a wireless one. I've seen pictures of the wireless one with the receiver for Bluetooth. But it sounds like there's USB versions as well. There's the wireless, so it looks like there's a ton of functionality. I don't know if each controller is going to be like that. It's going to be modular. I don't know. I haven't been able to find that much information. People are looking into it. I'm keeping an eye on everyone who is covering CES to see if they talk about it. But I've seen two, specifically for the Saturn. There was a box with a wireless version with the little Wi-Fi's and then a receiver box on top of it, and then beside that were several boxes of wired controllers in each color format that the Saturn controllers had come in. So you've got the black, you've got white with the multicolored buttons, you've got gray. They're any color format of the Saturn they are reproducing, and what looks like to be actual mold casings. Like they have not redesigned any of these controllers. These look like the original controllers. If any modifications had to be made for the new hardware, they've been kept minimal. These look like exact versions of these controllers, which I'm really hoping is the case, because the Saturn D-pad is often viewed as one of the best D-pads, especially for things like 2D fighting games. So I'm really hoping that they used the actual original product molds and product designs to try to keep these things as one-to-one as possible in terms of design, but with just the added functionality. If that is the case, I would buy 4 wireless Dreamcast controllers, 2 wireless Saturn controllers in a heartbeat. Don't care. I would gladly spend that money on those things, because this looks impressive. And I'd be willing to give Retro Bit the benefit of the doubt that, you know, a 5-star or 1-star, I'd be willing to take that gamble just for this. Pleasantly surprised. So pleasantly surprised. The other accessories that they have shown off at CES are mostly cables, S-video cables for the Genesis, the Saturn, a VGA box for the Dreamcast. That's actually a really big deal. The Dreamcast had amazing graphical output for the time. The fact that it supports VGA is awesome. Typically you have to get a VGA box online through people who make them themselves, much like any other aftermarket console hardware. It's something that someone makes. Very rarely are they mass produced. So this is something that actually really impresses me, that they're looking at what the community has done, the community wants, and the community asks for in terms of, can we get this, or people who are making things like this, and they're saying, like, we can do this. So again, pleasantly surprised. I'm still holding out. I'm still not holding my breath for the mini consoles. They do have a couple of consoles. Those are where I've seen the worst reviews for a lot of their products, are these consoles, because again, a lot of them use emulation that's not quite up to par, or they've got build quality issues that most secondary console manufacturing seems to have. So and then there's I don't think we're going to get a Saturn Mini. I know everyone's clamoring for that, but I don't see how it's going to be cost effective, because I think it'd be a little more pricey than people want to spend money on. And then there's it'd be all emulation. It would be all emulation, and Saturn emulation is getting better. I have looked into it because I was curious about the current state of Saturn emulation, and seeing just recently uploaded videos of people with some of the newer Saturn emulators and newer Saturn cores that are working for other emulators. And you know, some of them look amazing. Some of them still have ways to go. And even the ones that look amazing, there's some concessions made in some areas. I was watching a video that had Guardian Heroes, and I'm sitting here going, "There's no sound. There's supposed to be music here, right?" And I look up that section. Yeah, there's supposed to be. There's not music there. That's a problem with the emulator. And that's a problem with emulation in general. There's going to be some issue somewhere unless you get a one-to-one emulator, which is very rare. But people are working on it, so maybe somewhere down the line. I know it's not going to be within the first wave of the Retro Bit stuff. They are doing these accessories to start with, and I'm really wishing them the best on those because they look amazing. I would really love to get my hands on one just to see just how accurate they are before they launch. So Retro Bit, if you're watching, I would love to do a product review. Call me. Anyway, totally not creepy. So I'm holding out skeptical hope. First, aside from Sonic Mania back there, this is the first time in a long time that I'm cautiously optimistic about something Sega's doing, because most of the time it's not worth getting your hopes up. So, and this is Retro Bit, so you know, I guess a little more reason to be cautiously optimistic that something might or some positive thing might actually come from this. So yeah, go check it out. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube about it. Go look into it. I'm gonna sit here and see if I can figure out when the release date for this stuff is now, because now I'd really like to pre-order some of this stuff. Really would, because this looks kind of awesome. So yeah, I just felt the need to share, because you know, I do get you know, really big Sega fan, but the fact that I, you know, constantly say that I don't believe Sega's ever going to make another console again, everyone screams that I'm just apparently some sort of Sega hater. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, thank you for listening to the rant. Thank you for listening to me just kind of gush about a possible good thing happening with Sega. Thank you all for, you know, the views, the likes, the comments, favorites, subscribes. All that really does help so much. You have no idea. If you want to help the channel directly, I do have the Patreon, which will be linked in the video description below. So thank you all, and I will be back with the next rant, and hopefully sometime soon I'll be back with a product review for these controllers, because I am super psyched. Just the concept of having a wireless Saturn controller just excites me beyond you know, all reasonable measure. I am such a dork, but I own it. So till then, later everyone.